Hello everyone. Okay, so not an hour's gone by since I made my last video doing these stars on the wings, these insignia or wrangles should I say, and I feel like doing some more, so I thought I'd have a go at this little fellow. This is the little guy on the bomb, which is the VT2 signal from Lexington. So the first thing we got to do is put this mask onto here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to use this panel line as a base to get it sort of square and everything. But this is just a, you know, it's a scrap wing. It's not a proper model. So the first thing we've got to do is weed this. Now it's better to weed on the paper than it is to weed on the actual. Did I put my tweezers away? Yes, I did. Stupid me, Mr. Unprepared again. It's better to weed on the paper than it is on the model because it's the tape will come off of the paper much easier than it will off your model. So when we look at this, we've got this whole thing. This whole thing is black. So we've got the little tail there. We've got the actual bomb itself. We've got the little man, and we've got the actual stalk coming off the top. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this out of here. Okay, and as you can see, that's all come out in one piece. That's how beautifully cut these things are. You can see that there against the darker background. It's come out in one piece. So we're going to stick that down on here just in case we want it for something else later on. So that's all. I'm not going to remove the sparks, not yet. Okay, so I've got a piece of tape here. This is a piece of 18mm wide Tamiya tape, and I've put the little scrap under the left corner. This is an 18mm wide Tamiya tape cut 28mm long, so I think it should do the job perfectly. I'm going to start in this corner up here and just lay this down, and this is what's called transfer tape, and this will keep, you rub it down, this will keep the mask in shape. If this is the first video you've seen, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You won't know what I'm talking about, go back and look at some of my others. What we're going to do is keep the mask in shape. So the transfer tape keeps the mask in shape. Here we go, there's your poem for the day. What I'm going to do is just take this and stick this down on here, and as I say, I'm going to use that panel line as a reference for having this nice and square. So that's not square, is it, Nige? So imagine this is the side of your Dauntless. Not your, well, it could be a Dauntless. No, it wouldn't be a Dauntless, would it, for VT2? Your side of your Devastator. So we rub that down like that. Okay, and then we get our tweezers underneath the transfer tape, and the transfer tape will come away. And the trouble is, the transfer tape, as you can see, either they weren't there, or the transfer tape has pulled the sparks out, so now we can see the colour through the sparks, and those sparks have got to be yellow, not black. So what we need to do there is get our piece of transfer tape here, which we don't need again, and I'm just going to cut some small squares out of it, and then I'm going to put that onto here to mask those little sparks, because they're going to be painted yellow. Okay, so there we go. In fact, I'm going to put the big masks on first. We're going to put big masks around the outside edge to protect the rest of the model from overspray. I just want to do that first before I put these on, because I want to take these off and spray the yellow. That's that one can go down there, and then that one there. There we go. So that's down like that, and then we can grab our masking tape, as I say, and cover the surrounding area, just like that. And there we go. All done. Okay. So that's that done. Right. You're going to spray this black now. So I'm going to spray that area black, and then I'll come back and we'll see what else we've got to do. Alright, that's painted black. So what it's telling us to do now is to remove, leave on base the entire process. Then we'd use transfer T and insert to paint the contrast colours. So we've got B here. So what I've got to do here is just, I don't want to run over balls in my chair. So I've got B here. I don't really think you can see what I'm doing, but just in case. So we've got his hands and his legs. So his hands are white. His boots are white, I believe. Yes, his boots are white. Okay. And we got this bit here is white. And these little two round bits here are white. And though that one there, obviously, because I just said the two bits, they are both white. And then we've got the white of his eye, leave the eyeball in place. And then we have the eyebrow there, that's going to be in white. And then what Sven's telling us to do is use the transfer tape to put that on there. Now when I lift the transfer tape up, that leg and arm is going to probably come out, but we'll see. So I'm going to lift the transfer tape off of here. Okay, and this should be slightly smaller so we can see the edge. There we go. Okay, so I'll just lightly rub that down, not too hard because I don't want it to stick too well. And then I'm going to pick this up, and as you can see, what's happened is the arm and there we go. The arm and leg has come away now. It did stay on the backing paper. So now we have got to fit this into this black shape here, and it is very difficult to do, so I'm going to catch it in the light. In fact, I'm going to do it off camera because I'm going to use my magnifier because I want to get it right. So I'll be back in a sec. Right, we've got that on there now. As you can see, it's pretty good. It's slightly low, I think, because we've got a slight edge there, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. So what we've got to do now is spray white, but if we just sprayed white on here, we run the chance of getting a white edge around the black, and also we'll get that little fuse off the back of his head. So what I've done here, I've cut this piece of transfer tape we used earlier, I've cut into strips. So what I can do here is just shorten this a little bit and stick this on there. As I say, some of you may be thinking, what a load of fuss, I really can't be bothered. Well, if that's the case, then that's the case. But if you want to get that painted on look, then this is the way to go. I'm going to put that other piece there because I think I've got a bit of that fuse sticking out the bottom there. Alright, and also what we need to do is cover all of the edges. We've also got that tail on the back of the bomb there, which I want to cover. So I'm going to get this piece off here. So I'm going to cover that tail up. And all we're doing is covering up all the edges where the two masks meet to avoid any issues. Alright, so I'm just going to go on and do that, and then I'll show you the finished result in a minute. There we go, guys. Lots of free little bits, but lots of little bits of tape. And you can also see here I've covered up the arm and the leg because it's just the boot and the glove that's going to be white. So we can take our white paint and just do a little test, and then just very, very gently paint the white bits. We're just going to let it build up slowly. And this around here is something that is omitted from the instructions, but I feel it's a necessity, otherwise you get that, like you've got here, where you get the white edge around it. So that's from a different reason, but it's a similar look. So just going to keep plugging away here with the white, go back to air, let it dry out, go back with the paint, more in there. Obviously the trouble with going white over black is you'll end up with quite a build up of paint, so at the end of the day we just give it a light sponge sand, as you've seen me do many times. And after we've done this we'll do a bit of stenciling, I think. So there we go, that's that tiny bit of white done, just like so. I'll get the airbrush cleaned out and then we'll go for the red.
Right, so I've removed those two little pieces of tape there that were covering the arm and the leg. So now what I'm going to do is come in with the tweezers and pick out it's easier to weed on the sheet, but I wanted to leave these in here. And now I'm kind of thinking I needn't have bothered because I had to cover them anyway. So just going to get these out of here. Come on. That's those out of there. And now what I need to do is cover up all the white bits. So we'll put that bit over there. We'll put that bit over the hand, like so. And then we need some other squares to cover up the other white bits. As I say, if you're thinking, oh my god, this is just too much fuss, then don't do it. Use the decals. But when I show you in a minute stencils, you'll see that's what this is all about. These sets are all about the stencils. They're not really so much about the insignia and this kind of thing. They're really all about the stencils because they are just the best way of putting stencils on your model. Without a shadow of doubt, they're unbelievably good. I can't get that piece of tape to stay down. There we go. So there we are. So that's that all covered up. So now we can just spray the red. Just do check my flow. Just come in here with the red and just get some red down, which is not going to want to cover that black. So dry it, spray a bit, dry it, spray a bit, dry it, spray a bit. Keep it dry. There we go. We're starting to see some red there now. As I say, if we've got a big step on the edge of the tape, we can always sand it back. There we go, so that's that bit done. So now that can be left to dry and I can clean the airbrush out and then we can do some yellow. Alright, so now we've got the sparks unmasked, as you can see there. All of this we don't really need to worry about, but just in case, I'm just going to get a piece of tape and just place it gently there. Just to cover up the red, just because we don't want to ruin it now, do we, after all this work? And then we can just spray in those sparks again, keep it dry, back to air, keep it dry, back to air. There we go. So now we should be able to see what the whole thing looks like, and everybody loves an unmasking, don't they? Let's take that off of there. Get all these little bits off. They might all come off as one. Oh, we haven't finished yet, have we? We've got to do the little bit on the front, which is like a peachy colour, which is handy because we've got yellow in the airbrush. So all of this excess here needs to come off. It's all going to be in the way. And also we need to take out the actual main mask as well from the inside. We're going to leave the outer one in place. So I think what I may as well do is pick up that one. There we go. And then we can see here what's happened there is we've lifted up the A mask with my bit of tape there. Oh no, we haven't. We just removed the paint from it. Hey, there's a thing. We'll have to try that on another one. You know, we have the problem of being able to see where the mask goes. What's tearing there? Maybe if we put masking tape over the painted edges. Okay, that's that mask tearing. Okay, so we need to get all these little bits off first. This is literally watching paint dry, isn't it, guys? There we go. Get off. So we need to get this off of here.
There we go, and we can see that I've got a little bit of red over that white there. You can see I didn't cover that white there. That's a shame. That's a darn shame. It might come off with a quick sand. Not with quick sand, with a quick sand with a stick. Okay, so you can see there we're going to need to pick out his eye. Come on, there we go. So we can see there we've got his eyebrow, his legs, his arms is red, and we've got his boots and gloves in white. We've got that tail at the back there is still in black, we've got the flash there in white, and we've got our sparks in yellow. So now what we've got to do is we've got to weed, where's my other mask, here we go. We've got to weed this bit out of here, so you've got this bit here, we've got to weed that out. So that's going to come out of there, put that on there, and then we've got to use this transfer tape here on the front of here. Now this is going to be extremely delicate because it's very close to the edge. And that went straight on, which is really unusual for the camera, isn't it, when the camera's on? And then we're going to pick this up and we're going to place this as nicely as we can. Just going to try that a minute. I'm wondering if we put masking tape onto the masking tape where we've painted, it lifts the paint off, look, and you can see the edge of the masking tape better. Look at that. Makes the edge of the masking tape become more apparent. So there's something else we've learned. As I say, with these I'm learning all the way through. Right, so that I'm going to have to do something with magnifier. See you in a second. Right, so we've got that all masked up now with just that little bit exposed, which needs to be like a peachy colour. So I just put a tiny bit of red in the orange, in the yellow, sorry, just to make this kind of peachy colour. So spray a bit, dry it back, spray a bit, dry it back. And there you go. So that's that done. Right. So now it's going to be a case of let that dry for a minute and then we'll unmask everything. I'm going to get my airbrush cleaned out. Alright, so let's see how it looks. So we'll get these big bits of tape off because we can reuse these again, these big pieces. There we go. Now these little bits in here are basically scrap. We won't be needing them again. We just put them over on the cutting mat out of the way. As I say, it's always worth covering up any edges. I'm really annoyed with myself for getting that bit of red on the top of that eyebrow there, but we'll see how it looks. So get under there. Let's see what that one looks like. There. And then here, oh, we've got that one to come off there, haven't we? We've got this one here. It's got to come out. There we go. So that one's also scrapped. So, moment of truth, we take the main one off and we'll see how it all looks. Do it very slowly. And there we go. And I think you'll agree, other than me getting that red overspray on there, I think you'll agree that is so much better than that. Oh, look, there's no carrier film, there's no edge, there's no nothing. And then we can come along with a bit of 2,500 grit sponge. Just gently go over it, and then any hard edges or anything are gone. You can see that red paint on the top is pretty much gone as well. There we are. Isn't that lovely? So bearing in mind, remember I did it parallel with this panel line, the bomb actually faces down. So you could have that on the side of your aircraft. Looking lovely, couldn't you? Right, so let's have a look at some of these stencils. So this is what One Man Army is all about. It's these beautiful little stencil here, stencil masks. As you can see, tiny little things. So we'll get a few and dot them around. As I say, you've seen me do two stencils before, but we'll have a little play with these. So we've got some really tiny ones here that I can't even read with my eyes, and that one says conductive cables inside, I think that says. So the thing to do with these is when you know where they want to go, the best thing to do is get a bit of Tamiya tape. Okay, so say you know, for example, that we're going to have two stencils along here and they need to be 6mm below that panel, and we can put our piece of Tamiya tape there. I mean, if it was 4mm, we'd use a 4mm piece of tape. Okay, so we can put that there as parallel to that panel line on that tap edge, and then this here is 6mm away. So when we put our stencil up against that, or plus the bit on the top of the stencil, we know that we're roughly in the right ballpark. Believe me, they weren't that accurate with stencil placement when they did them. So if we know that we want one sort of, we want the centre of them to be sort of at 5mm, at 20mm, and at 35mm there. So there we go. So we've got that one there, and that one there, and we want them all in a straight line, and that's why we put the tape down. So what we can do on here is measure. Here we've got the stencil. Don't measure the whole thing, just measure the actual length of the stencil itself, and that is about, that's just under 6mm, so that's about 2.5. Okay, let's call it 3. So we can mark there 3. Okay, and then we'll use one of these here. So that one is about 4mm, so we'll come along to 2, mark there 2. Okay, and then we'll use this one here, little TBD one, and the center of that is, that's about 3mm, so like 1.5, I'll call it 2mm. You could even just do it by eye. Okay, so now we know that our stencils are going to be good. So what we need are some tiny little bits of masking tape. So what we can do is actually use this piece here and cut this up. We just want some tiny little pieces, and we're just going to lift that left bottom corner, get a piece of tape. We're not using that, we're using that, aren't we? Dodo. And that's going to go under there. And then we're using this one here, so we're going to get a piece of tape, put that one under there. And it was, which one else are we going to use? There we go, it's this one here, isn't it? We're going to use this one here, so we'll grab a piece of tape and stick that under there. Job done. So we'll put this one in first, say. So we can pick this up with our tweezers. We don't need to do any weeding. And then we can put this one, make it more comfortable for me to handle, better for you to see. So we can butt that up against the tape with the two pencil lines aligned, and just put that like so. There we go. As I say, it doesn't need to be perfect. Remember, this wouldn't have been perfect. Now, what I wouldn't recommend doing is rubbing down hard. So what I do is grab a piece of paper, okay, and then rub. So it stops you actually dragging any of the stencil out. You can see I haven't got that perfectly in line. That's absolutely fine. And then this one here, again, we've got that little piece of tape under that helps us lift it up. So we're going to put that one in there, like so. Just drop it down, get it positioned. I mean, we can use this, we don't need to use a separate piece of paper, we can just rub over the top like that, okay, and make sure it's gone down. And then finally we're going to grab this little stencil over here, we've got this one here,
that one up, and again we can place this one down with the pencil line lined up, and we know we've got it nice and square. It's going to read in a straight line, and there we are. Okay, so I just rubbed that, and I shouldn't have done, that's bad practice. Put that on there, just rub through, there we go, and that's ready to go. Now what we need to do is, once again, with a little pieces of tape here, I'm going to mask that, right, and then with a bigger piece of tape here I can mask across the bottom of those, and this is all about preventing overspray now. Mask across the bottom of there, little piece on there. Okay, and also always remember to go across the top, even though you've got that bit of tape there, this piece of tape here, there will be a gap and the paint will find its way in and you will end up with a line. So what we can do then is use that piece and put it back over the top, just like so. Okay, and then we'll get a bigger piece over here. Always remember as well to cover up the little number down in the bottom corner. You always have a number in the bottom of the stencil, you can see there 22. The paint will find its way through there, believe me, so make sure you've got them covered up. So that's them all covered up, so that's ready to go. In fact, I'm going to remove this piece of tape here because I want to put one here as well. So what we'll do is we'll put that piece of tape like that. Okay, I want to lift up that corner as well, get that out of the way. Right, so I'm going to put one here, and we've got a nice big one over here. Where was I? So US Navy. Okay, so what we're going to do with this one, we're going to come in with our tweezers. We've got our little fine pointed tweezers. You can see we've got US Navy there, look. Okay, so we're going to weed this. Easy to do when it's on the paper. It's much easier to do it now than do it on the model. Always weed before. Again, if you wanted to do this the other way around, you could paint white and then weed the paper away and leave US Navy there. Transfer tape onto the model and then paint the model over the colour you want. So remember, think about what you're doing. You can always do it in reverse. It's entirely up to you. And that's the beauty of this, you know, over the decals you've got the choice of the colour and everything, and even the way you do it. Okay, so we're going to do that. So that's that one weeded. So what we need now is a piece of Tamiya tape. I'm assuming 6mm is going to be wide enough. No, it's not. We're going to need a piece of 10. Okay, but I think 10 is going to be too wide. It's exactly 10mm, so what I'm going to do, I don't think that's long enough, is it? No, it's not long enough. I need to get a wider, longer piece. So what I'm going to do here is just put this down on my cutting mat, find a straight line, alright, and then what I can do is cut one end square. That's why I put it straight on the cutting mat. So cut one end square. We can get rid of that, and then I'm going to measure the length of this. Make sure I'm not off the camera. This is, so that if we make it 38mm long, that'll be perfect. So 38mm long, that works out to that line there, so that's perfect. So we can take that away over there, and it's 10mm wide. The lettering is about 7, so we'll cut this to about 8mm wide. So there we go. We can put our rule down, make sure it's running all parallel with everything. It doesn't need to be perfect anyway. It's a piece of transfer tape. It's not a mask. All these bits of tape sticking to my fingers now. Get rid of that. In fact, we can leave that on there. What we'll do is take our transfer tape. First of all, I'm going to do my little trick with the bottom left hand corner, which I forgot. So we're going to pick up that, get that little bit of tape, slide it under, and then we can get our transfer tape
I mean, it sticks to this bench well, to that mat well, shall I say. Got a piece of tape stuck to the back there, so we'll get rid of that. And I always use tweezers with transfer tape because it makes it easier to see what you're doing. So I'm going to come along to here, get a nice sort of boundary around the edge so I can see the mask. There we go. And then wherever the mask needs to go, I can see where it's going. So I'm going to choose to put it along this panel line here. That's why it's good to have the edge of the mask exposed. So just going to grab the tweezers, come in here, pick up on that panel line, and just rub it down. Okay, you can rub this one without paper because it's got transfer tape on it. And then we're going to just lift the transfer tape off nice and carefully. Okay, and now we've got that down there. So now we can use this piece of transfer tape as a mask along the front edge, like so. There we go. And then we've got another piece here that we can use. In fact, we may as well use these big wide pieces. So that can go back down. And it doesn't matter what you use to protect your ends, it's just any old scabby old bit of tape, it doesn't matter at all, it's just to prevent overspray. So there we go. I think we'll have one more. What should we have? Let's have one of those bigger TBD ones over here. So again, we'll weed the TBD out. In fact, I'm going to do a bigger one so I can see what I'm doing. We'll have one of these number 7s, I think. Let's have one of these number 7s. So we'll weed the 7 out. Okay, and then what we can do is get a bit of transfer tape. Any old tape should be wide enough. Yes, I believe it is. And how long does it need to be? Where did my rule go? Here's my rule. It needs to be about 13mm long, so we'll put it on there. And we'll just make it roughly 13mm long. Use the end of the rule as a square. There we go, and then come back 13mm and just cut that off. Get the knife under it, pick it up, grab a little piece of scrap for our corner. That's too big. Get that in there. Lift up the corner. I don't know whether I should use the tweezers to lift up the corner, shouldn't I? There we go, that's that in there. Grab our bit of transfer tape, grab the tweezers, put that down on there like so. Give it a good rub. Who misses? Come along, tweezers, lift that off. And I want this 7 to run through with that deep panel line on the side there. So it's good to have the corner of the side of the mask exposed so you can see. There we go. And then we can just get that underneath our tape, and then we can mask around the edge like so, and then once again get our big old bits of tape like that. Put that on there. We'll put that one on the bottom. And then we've got a big piece here which can go over and cover everything else. There we go. So now we're ready to do our stencils and our US Navy there. So let's see how that's going to come out. I'm going to get some white paint in the airbrush and I'll be straight back. Alright, so this is MRP white, so it's very thin. But just going to spray this in here, keeping it dry, let it build up slowly, keeping the airbrush 90 degrees to the tape at all times. Okay, just keep going. Now if you want to, very gently what you can do is come in from the 4 different angles and just paint like that so that you make sure you get nice crisp sharp edges
on your lettering. And the smaller the lettering, the more crucial that is. So you can see I'm painting this, I'm just building it up very, very slowly. Alright, and then here, let it build up, bring it back to air. Again, we'll come in on the angles, get into the corners, so we get a nice sharp. And if we do get a build up, as I just keep saying, we can always sand it back. And then when it comes over here to the little stencils, what we need to do here is come in on the angles. I should really have more tape up there, but so we're coming on the angles, left to right, right to left, down, up. As you can see how much paint's coming out of the airbrush by how much it's on this tape. You can see it's hardly anything at all. And I'm not stop starting because I don't want to get any spitting. Alright, so come back to here. And then if you decide that's enough, if that's white enough for you, you can stop, or you can just keep going and let the paint build up. You get a lovely white thick white 7 if you want. So that'll be dry by now, because it dries. I really do like MRP paint, it dries very, very fast. You can see this is all coming off together, which is fine because I've finished for the day now. Let's get my tweezers under here. There we go, nice and slowly, nice and gently, just gently peeling it off. You can see there how it's lifted the paint. That's why we always suggest get them off before the paint is fully dry. There we go, there's our US Navy, and then here we've got our little stencils. Again, you can see pulling very, very slowly. There we are. You can see I didn't quite mask in there, so I've got a bit of overspray on there, but I might be able to wipe that away with a cotton bud. No. So it's careful masking all the way. So there we are. So that is how not to do it. I built it up too fast and the paint is peeled when I've taken the mask away. And that's the same for any paint you're doing, any masking, whatever. Don't ever let the paint build up too much into the masking tape. So, but that there is just lovely, isn't it? So, and that US Navy is as well. But this is what these masks are all about, it's these stencils. I mean, you can imagine you will never get decals to look like that. Unless you use dry white ones or whatever. But there we go. There we go. After just this 2,500 grit sponge, just lightly go over it, takes away all the edges. You can see we have a lovely finish. Now, one of the beauties with these, if you want to actually start to add some wear, you know, and or bleaching or whatever, if you just sand away, I'm using a 2,500 grit because it's removing a minimum amount of paint. If you go in with something coarse, it may all happen a bit too quickly. But I can sand away here. As you can see, I can make that look very, very bleached, worn, you know, distempered, whatever you want to call it. You see that US Navy now is kind of fading away, as if the paint isn't as resilient as the blue behind it, or you know, it's been pressure washed or scrubbed or whatever, and it's coming away. You know, think of that on an army vehicle or something like that. It's very, very good. And you can see there with this little man on his bomb, I can sand away and nothing much is happening.
So yeah, very, very good. The 7 is a bit too thick, so I can thin that down a bit. As you can see, we can sand that down. We can also sand away around, or you know, it's very tough, it's very resilient, and you can put wear and tear in and get a really good effect should you want to. So if you do come in with something coarser, this is a worn out 400, probably more like an 800. You know, you do run the risk of it all happening too quickly. As you can see there on that 7, it's all happening a bit too quickly. But and that little man there is bloody great. I think it looks wonderful. So there we are. So hope you've enjoyed that. Just a little add-on to the last video I did. I've dirtied up my paper now. So yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, and if you've liked it, hit the like, and if you haven't, hit the thumbs down. It all counts. So I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.